Migrant families are now being reunited thanks to two federal judges that demanded that Trump do so and stop this zero tolerance policy of prosecuting everyone who tries to seek asylum while simultaneously separating them from their children. Now, we're hearing some pretty devastating stories about what it's like to be reunited with children, especially extremely young kids who unfortunately don't recognize their parents anymore because they've been separated for such a long period of time. So just to give you some examples, this is according to reporting from the New York Times. When the reunions finally happened on Tuesday of this week in Phoenix, the mothers were met with cries of rejection from their children. One mother said, "My 3-year-old son didn't recognize me. My joy turned temporarily to sadness." So he was pushing back and saying that he wanted, "I want Miss, I want Miss," the child cried.
And that's referring to the social worker who had been taking care of him. So when I was looking at this story, look, I look for bias too, even in the case of, against Trump or conservatives. And I'm a parent, so I thought if the kid's above the age of 5, you're not gonna forget his parents, right? Under the age of 5, that easily could happen. So I thought that before I read the details. So then you read the details, and in both cases it was a 3-year-old. And that easily could happen. The second 3-year-old story is even more devastating. But the first 3-year-old story, this one, there 4 months is an eternity for a 3-year-old, right? And this happens sometimes with parents who die. The kids never remember the parents. And it's, man, it is heartbreaking. But you take a 3-year-old away for 4 months, he's not gonna remember. It's possible that he's not gonna remember his mom. Now, Jesus Christ, and now you gotta restart a relationship. And the mom knows the kid, but the kid doesn't know the mom. Oh, what have we done? That's why this is monstrous.
Yeah, it really is. So let's talk about the second case that was outlined by the New York Times, and I made a mistake. I said that the first child said, "I want Miss, I want Miss." That was actually this child that I'm about to talk about right now. So Milka Pablo's 3-year-old daughter, Darlie, screamed and tried to wiggle free from her mother's embrace. And as she was doing that, she kept saying, "I want Miss, I want Miss." And Miss refers to the social worker that was apparently working with this child while she was in one of these detention centers for children. And they think that, oftentimes what happens is they think the children that they were detained with are their siblings, and they keep asking for their siblings. But of course they're not the siblings, and it's just a devastating situation.
That's why you don't take kids under 5 away from their parents. It's crazy. But you know what? Actually, the worst story is the last one. So some of the parents were allowed to explain to the kids that they're going to be separated and they'll see them again. Some of the parents were not allowed to do that. So in one case, a father was separated from his 3-year-old, never got to tell him why. All of a sudden, boom, the kid's gone. Now that's terrorizing to the dad, but for the kid, it's way worse. And in detention, the kid stopped talking. He clammed up and he wouldn't talk. When they brought the kid back and finally united him with his dad, he wouldn't leave his dad's arms. No matter what they did, he wouldn't leave his dad's arms. So that's the story of where he did recognize his dad, but they still haven't gotten him to talk yet. And he wouldn't even take toys. He just wouldn't leave his dad. My God, what have we done? And right now, there are still dozens of parents they have not been able to locate to match the kids. And some of them might have already been deported. These fools, I mean, in almost every instance, when you're separated from anything, when you're separated from your baby at a hospital when they're first born, you have the tags to make sure that you don't lose the baby and the parent. One of our listeners made a good point. He said, when you go into prison, they actually take your wallet, your watch, etc., and they make sure to tag it. They didn't make sure to have a system in place.
They don't care. They don't care. Look, for all the criticism that people on the left get for being bleeding hearts and focusing too much on empathy and compassion, I mean, some on the right, not all, because there were Republicans who criticized this, there were conservatives who criticized this, but extreme right wingers that are supportive of this whole zero tolerance policy, I mean, no humanity, right? Don't have no humanity, don't care about what'll happen to these kids, to these parents. Like, just think about, just for 1 second, put yourself in the shoes of a mother or a father who gets their 3-year-old taken away from them. I mean, they come to the border. I get it. Maybe you totally disagree with the immigration. Maybe you don't want them here. All right, fine. We disagree on that. But can we at least agree that it's incredibly cruel to separate these kids, these small children, from their parents?
No, and apparently we can't. I mean, we showed you the videos from the Trump rallies where they're like, oh, they're still crying about it. And of course, Lewandowski, former campaign manager of Trump, on TV said womp womp about a 10-year-old with Down syndrome separated from their mom. Out of the 102 kids that were under the age of 5, only a third of them have been returned by the deadline. They say they're efforting another third or so. And like I said, there's a couple of dozen that they're like, I don't know. We have the kids, but we don't know where their parents are. And the judge is asking them, you're in court here. I gave you a deadline for returning the kids. Where are the kids? Where are the parents? And the Justice Department goes, well, for some of them, we have no idea. 2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.